Hello and welcome to the Generation Next podcast hosted by EMA Training. Now today I've got three fabulous guests. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hello, yes, my name's Peter Ellse and I'm the CEO of Cosy Direct and Chair of Cosy Foundation as well.
Hi, I'm Ruby. I'm the Project Manager at Purpose Media and the Apprenticeship Ambassador for Generation Next.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm the Marketing Manager for Hardy Signs and this year the Chair of Generation Next.
Fabulous, thank you. So Daniel, can you start by telling us a little bit about why we're doing these podcasts today?
Yes, so Generation Next is the Young Professionals Division of East Midlands Chamber. So he advocates and promotes young people from the age of 18 to 35. And one of the areas that we spoke about quite a lot as a board last year was young people that do not follow a traditional way of education. So not going like college, university, work, etc. And we started thinking about the different aspirations that they had moving forward, and we wanted to engage with them. So one of the areas was obviously apprenticeships. Maybe we started with apprenticeships because it's one of the areas that has been spoken a lot about. It has been campaigned quite a lot over the years, and we had quite a lot of members and some really good members like Ruby as well. So we then spoke with EMA, Loughborough College, who's a partner of Generation Next, and other stakeholders like Cosy, and we tried to discover what are the different elements that we need to deliver on in order to make some progress throughout the year. So that's where we started, really.
Fabulous. And are you able to share a little bit about what those objectives are?
Yeah, of course. I've got them here. So that was obviously purely feedback from members and partners. And one of the main concerns of the providers and companies that then get apprentices in was appealing to young people in schools and their parents. Apparently there is a bit of a trend, or there are kind of discussions around parents or stereotypes around apprenticeships. So we want to break them down, we want to speak about them, and we want to make parents and their children understand that apprenticeships are for everyone, not just for certain categories and certain jobs. On the back of the podcasts and other things that we're going to do in partnerships, we will then create a toolkit that we'll try and deliver to employers, employees, schools, and everyone, kind of key stakeholders in the region, to make some progress on quite a lot of these points. There are other stuff in there, but it's mainly around regulating as much as we can the apprenticeships environment in the region. If there is some work on some influencing to do around salaries or the environment where young people work and grow, then that would be great. But these are kind of the main starting points.
Fabulous. So just on that raising awareness, so Ruby, what's your experience having done an apprenticeship yourself, Apprentice of the Year as well, congratulations. What's your experience of apprenticeships and an awareness or lack of apprenticeships?
I'd definitely say there's a lack of awareness when it comes to promoting apprenticeships that are less traditional. When I was at school, I remember sitting in an apprenticeship session that they'd ran, and it was myself, one other girl, and then a group of boys that wanted to become bricklayers and joiners and things like that. And it was very much pushed that apprenticeships were just for physical jobs like that. So when I started looking for an apprenticeship in sort of marketing and that kind of area, there wasn't really any promotion of it in school. I remember sitting down with our careers advisor and saying, I don't want to go to university, I want to do an apprenticeship. And she very much pushed that I wanted to go to university. She even put on my form, wants to go to university, but is considering other pathways, which was never my option. But then when I started actually looking on my own, instead of looking through my school, I found EMA Training and found the digital marketing apprenticeship, the digital support technician apprenticeship that I myself ended up doing. And I realised actually there's a lot more apprenticeships and avenues that my school just didn't tell me were options, and avenues that perhaps were more my sort of thing than the more physical side of the apprenticeships.
And I think there are a lot of people that still probably think that apprenticeships are the traditional bricklaying and those kind of apprenticeships. What's your experience, Peter?
I don't see it that way myself. We've got 6 apprentices, and we've got finance people, we've got digital apprentices, we've got data science people. I'm a graduate myself, and I very much thought up to 10 years ago, well, we want graduates in the firm, they're the brightest bunch. But as we've come through these last 10 years, we've seen such a range of high quality talent. And the first thing we were saying was, oh, you're so clever, why didn't you go to university? Which, you think about it, it's a crazy position to be in. And actually, in this last 5-6 years, we've come to the terms of it, that some of the best quality people we've had have come through the apprenticeship programme. And it's very much co-development, really, of that. So you've got to be able to, as a firm, want to get involved with apprenticeships in terms of developing those people, but also it's an apprenticeship plus thing for us. So they might be an apprenticeship, but we've got lots of other programs alongside that to bring up their verification, validation, and their visibility in the firm, so they do come through. So I think there is a case sometimes that you've got to make a case with your employees, your SLTs or your C-suites, to explain to them why the apprenticeship's important. But I think it's coming, and certainly with the degree apprenticeships, then it's really on the level, isn't it? So all of a sudden, we're not just FE here. We're talking about people. We've got a degree apprenticeship on data science, for example, Finn, and he's doing at University of Nottingham, high quality course. He's with us 4 days a week. He's in university as well. So actually, I think because of that, and I think it's something like 10% of people coming through that now at degree. And of course, it's just a lot less expensive for people to do that, and it's a lot more productive as well. So I think this is going to become bigger and bigger in terms of the work landscape and people's landscapes. You can get your kids through university, they end up with 50 grand of debt. That's a happy place to be. If they're also still getting that level of professional development and mental development, then I think that's a positive thing as well.
Fabulous, and I can definitely relate to that. So having been to university, did an undergrad, and then I did a master's in marketing, and now seeing the power of an apprenticeship, I definitely, and the student debt, I definitely would have, I'm showing my age now, but would have appreciated an apprenticeship.
I'm 52, I think you're quite young.
You touched about briefly on the technical skills and the personal development side of things. So you mentioned that Cosy look at not just the technical side of things, but how we can develop everyone as a person.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I have a list of things that we do. But I mean, Daniel and I were talking before in the green room where there was no gin and tonic, but it's a Monday morning, it'd be wrong to not do anything with a coffee. But we were talking about the fact that there's a number of things that you can do for people. Really, you're as much as any. I mean, Ruby, I don't have to say this to you because you're obviously extremely competent and confident person. But actually, for a lot of apprentices coming through, they wouldn't necessarily understand that they could have that platform of visibility in the firm and that their opinions do count. So I was talking to the apprenticeship manager of one of our really good apprentices over there, Lucy, and I was saying, well, what is it? What is it for you that's good for an apprenticeship? So, well, they bring fresh ideas from that course, from their peers that come through. That's really valuable to me. They bring freshness in terms of their approach to things, and that helps me as maybe a jaded manager, which is not Jake. If you watch this, I didn't mean that. But as someone that's looking for fresh ideas all the time, it gives you more coming into it. And so we do things like we make sure that there's more courses going on for the apprentices outside the apprenticeship, 1 day courses, short courses. They've got a mentor in our firm that's not in their department. They've got a group. We spend money on them as a social fund for them to go out as a six to really bind, to give them confidence really. And we give them quite a bit of press. And we were talking about the fact that some people believe, oh no, you can't give them profile because you might lose them, they get poached. But our opinion's that, well, we're either in it for the person to get them up or we're not. And if we're together, then we're doing it together. It's a cohabitation thing. And yes, you may lose 1 or 2 people if the job's not quite aligned for them or you don't have the career trajectory. But you hope that by getting behind them, they'll recognise that you're with them for them for the long term. And that's an alignment that keeps us all interested in each other, let's say. So, So I think there's all those things. And then on top of that, we've got a learning library at work. So we've got a room set out because we recognise that people and apprentices, that it's like a heavy workload, isn't it? When you do an apprenticeship, it's like you've got your job and then you've got a huge amount to do when you come here at EMA. And so we say, okay, we can spend some time during work time doing that studying at work. And so we've got a room set up called the Learning Library. It's a cold, dowdy room, isn't it, Lucy? I'm looking across to you. But, and it's for you to decorate, actually, so it can be whatever you like it to be. But that's part of what we're trying to do, really. So we're trying to just not say, your apprenticeship, thanks very much, nothing to do with us. But it's okay, we'll go with that. We'll try and find a pathway for you to go, your apprentice, right, we'll get up to the next level and so on and so forth. And for us, that's just a great example to other apprentices. So we've got 6 out of 100 people apprenticeships. And we think, no, we should be getting 15 or 16 like that because it's a good way to go. So yeah,
that's great to hear about the support that you provide as well, and I think that's testament to the work that you're doing, and also other employers who are maybe considering hiring an apprentice to ensure that they're supportive. Ruby, what was your experience about? So how did you balance your apprenticeship and your day-to-day job?
So I was really fortunate that Purpose Media, we've had, plenty of apprentices. I think we're just under 20 we've had now. So they're used to the support that you have to give an apprentice, and I was given plenty of time during my working day to put together my projects, gather evidence, do research, do basically whatever I needed to do my course. And anytime I needed to come into the hub, obviously, even if there wasn't a course on, I could come here just to do some revision in preparation for my exams, and they were all really supportive with that, which was something I was really grateful for, because I've had friends that have done apprenticeships through other providers with other companies that haven't been given that opportunity in their work. It's been, you get your job done, you go home and you're an apprentice. You're just sort of there for your 9 to 5, and then you go home and you've got to do all your study in your own time. Which obviously isn't how an apprenticeship's supposed to work. So it's been really good to have that support, and the ongoing support of, I know we've just signed up one of our apprentices to Generation Next, so having that support for her, obviously it was something I started with during my apprenticeship, winning the award. It's really nice to see that support continuing with our new apprentices.
Fabulous. You just touched on the support that Generation Next provides. Dan, would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, that's one more member for my objective for 2023, so thanks for that. I'm probably about 100 new members short now, so I think we're going to work towards that. But I was going to bring something in, so a theory that is out there, and then I'll probably relate it with the Hardy Signs Academy first, and then I'll touch on Gen X. So they say that young people nowadays stay in a company for up to 36 months, and then they kind of migrate into another company. But from my experience, 6 years ago, we started an academy, probably 7 years this year, with Burton and South Derbyshire College, because we were struggling to hire people that wanted to work in signage, to manufacture signs, to install signs, or to work in other departments of a signage company that many people may think is just there to manufacture and install, but actually we've got marketing, sales, finance, just like every other company. And from our experience, all of the people that we've taken from the college through the academy that have worked even in like the workshop, they have stayed with the company for more than that 36 months. And I think I agree with you, Peter, when you say it's all about the culture really that you develop and how you bring these people up. I mean, I'm classified as young, and I've been with Hardy for 5 years now. And there are people in the company that have been there for even longer. So that shows that obviously the culture and what you provide for these young people, the support, goes miles way ahead than being poached or going to another company even for a little bit extra. When it comes to Gen Next, we want the platform to be there for everyone. We want it to be for someone who's gone to the university, someone who takes an apprenticeship and finishes an MBA, or someone who isn't as qualified. That doesn't matter. As long as you fit within the age, and even older, obviously, if you are a supporter or an ambassador for us, really, like Peter will be an ambassador. So if you are in the region and we are young, I think the main 2 points from my perspective are, one is the leveling up kind of agenda that the government is following, and obviously certainly there are gaps in the East Midlands and in the Midlands in general, but especially in the East Midlands. So if we can do something to help the leveling up agenda, what is that going to do as a result is going to help us on the retention of young people in the region. There are all sorts of statistics that mention that young people leave East Midlands to go to even West Midlands, let alone Manchester or London. So I think all of these different things that we're doing will help towards that bigger vision, but whilst remembering that we need to do the little bit really and see how far that goes. So we can have a big vision, but we're trying to do little things with big love and great partners.
Talking about the skills gap within the region, so here at EMA we have multiple apprentices, but specifically in the marketing department I have 2, one on a level 4 apprenticeship and one on a level 3 apprenticeship. And since being at EMA, they have definitely provided insights, new skills, a new way of looking at marketing. And I just think that without having them in the team, it would just be me with my certain level of knowledge. So it's definitely helped elevate, but it's also created a really good culture for us, where we're looking to innovate and create an impact. Most importantly, retain. So we definitely want to retain top talent within the East Midlands. That's one of our key objectives, and I think that's where we're all aligned.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, you've got to put the investment in, and we can't talk about the gap, and we do it a lot at Cosy. We're looking really at the base levels to pull people through. It's our responsibility to do that. You know, we're co-developers of individuals as they are of our own organisations, and we can grow as fast as they can grow to a certain extent. So it's, you know, it's always been the case, I think, with those things. And I think your organisation is a classic example of that, isn't it? Because you've added a lot of skill sets and people. They've improved and expanded and widened the relevance of that organisation, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. So I think just the people that we've still got that started as apprentices, we've got one who's now a senior front-end developer, one who's our technical project manager, obviously myself now working as project manager. So the apprenticeships for us have really been an example and really been proven as a great way to sort of train someone up, shape them to work how your company works. So you can't really get that tailoring as someone that's had worked in another company and, has had perhaps a few more years work experience behind them, someone that's sort of fresh out of college or fresh out of school, doing an apprenticeship or even retraining in a different field, you get to mould them to your company and make sure that they fit to your company, and it really helps upskill them as a person and upskill your company because you've got the new things they're bringing in from their course and the new younger perspective usually.
I'm thinking about apprenticeships in a different way. So if we relate it, we're both in marketing, so if we relate it to CIM, Chartered Institute of Marketing. So when I graduated, I didn't pursue going into doing a master's straight away or anything like that. I thought to myself, I know 1, 2, 3 things. I've learned a few other things from university, so let's just go and put them into practice and put a lot of love and passion into it, and let's see where it takes us. So things have progressed well with the job, and that kind of told me, well, did I really need to do a master's? Did I need to take another year or two into kind of researching into another area? I mean, I can obviously do it in the future, but then to me, CIM is a little bit like an apprenticeship. When you do those classes, obviously you need to turn up for classes, but it's not like once or twice every 2 weeks or so. And then you do that independent work. And at the end of it, you end up with some pretty good knowledge that you can utilize and you can use in your company. And it's not a lot of investment when you compare it to a university master's. So when you think of that, maybe we're going to have a shift in the future, because obviously young people are growing up with a different mentality to what we were. I went through university myself, and growing up, if I didn't go to uni, it would probably put shame into my family.
Yeah.
Like, they really wanted me to go to university. It was almost a lot of peer pressure. And I think obviously that's why we're doing this thing, because we want to raise awareness about different ways of doing things without being stigmatized, And I mean, Ruby's gone through an apprenticeship, and she's clearly very, very confident and very knowledgeable about what she does. And I don't want to mention her age now, but it will be a surprise to everyone that will watch this, because a young person at that age to do these things is just like incredible. Someone at this age 10 years ago, 5 years ago, would be thinking, what do I want to do about my career, rather than managing projects for other big firms in the region. But one thing that you've mentioned quite a lot when we had the calls was the awareness amongst parents and kind of their children. What would you say about it? And schools as well, especially in the remote areas, not like in the cities.
Yeah, it's definitely nowhere near as promoted as the university pathway is. I know I touched on earlier about the careers advisor telling me that I wanted to go to uni even though I said I didn't. But I think as well, coming from a more rural background, living in the countryside, there's not that many apprenticeship providers nearby. I think EMA is actually our closest, and that's, I think, a 40-minute drive. So there just weren't many people visiting the school. Perhaps apprenticeship providers weren't aware of the school. I know EMA are now in touch with my old school. So there just wasn't that level of awareness at sort of the post-16 education evenings that we'd have. You'd perhaps have one person in a corner talking about apprenticeships, and then you'd have 10, 20 people talking about different colleges. So it just wasn't promoted anywhere near as enough. And obviously that is going to stigmatise it a bit to parents, because they're going to think, why isn't there more promotion of apprenticeships? Clearly the school doesn't think it's a good pathway, otherwise they'd be promoting it. So it's sort of a chain effect of, if the schools don't promote it, the parents don't approve of it, and then the kids don't end up doing it.
So maybe the Association of Colleges has got a role to play there, as alongside other institutions. But another thing that I was going to maybe draw the attention, and I think Peter will be great for this, is the pay of these apprentices. Obviously, being chair of Gen Next, I'll look after the young professionals or young people. So I'd like to mention that it's different perspectives. Like when I have apprentices in my team, I try and speak to the MD, and he's very understanding about this. And as a company, we do pay a bit more than what the minimum is, because it's just, in my opinion, unaffordable for these people to get from A to B and do the job, etc.
Yeah.
But what do you think about, like, I don't know, you may have some stats around this, or maybe James will mention it later, but from your perspective as the head of a company, how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, we're a real living wage payer. You know, there's 7,000 firms doing that. We just have the base high to start with. And I think we would pay as much as possible to people on the basis that they're happier and they can get on. I mean, you can see it in two ways, can't you? You can manage your costs, but we're wanting the best people and want to retain the best people. And we're wanting those people to have a real ambition for themselves as well. I was saying to you before, wasn't it, when we were talking before, Daniel, that really we've got to have ambition for people in terms of where we want them to go. And it's almost more impressive if in the organisation you've moved up within it than moved out to move up, sort of thing. Because everyone's had to adapt their opinion of you. Oh yeah, you're the little kid that was here. Well, no, actually, you know, Ruby's amazing, as we already know from this round of chat. But so in some ways we need to be able to adapt to that and then pay people more money in leaps and bounds. So instead of it's like that, you end up like this in terms of how things move. And I think that's just the way to be, because ultimately if you go out to try and recruit someone like that at the top level, it's going to cost you a fortune. You'll pay a recruitment organisation 20% of money, which really you would prefer to pay for the person that's working for you. So in many respects, our game to try and sort of evade that really and to keep it inside the organisation. So yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it, depends what your experience of apprenticeship is. But when we're talking about professional services like EMA are doing ACA, you're doing CIMA. I mean, these are top level qualifications. Yeah. Data, the marketing stuff's brilliant here, and so actually that's high level stuff that everyone wants. And so if you read any press, it goes, oh, there's not enough digital marketers. Go, you can grow your own. You know, you can actually get involved in this, and together you can build something. And guess what? They'll probably find other people. So if you're trying to build your ecosphere, if you like, then that's the way to do it, I think. And it's all about retention, isn't it? You want to keep hold of good people, and you want to create the right circumstances. They want to keep hold of themselves as well. So Lucy is someone that we took on where the firm clearly treated them as cannon fodder. So chief apprentices, well, that's fine. And there's always jobs like that, but it depends what you want out of that apprenticeship, I think. And if it's an investment apprenticeship, then obviously you want to grow with it, grow the job, grow the person, grow the value. And so, yeah, I mean, I would see them as being significantly important to an organisation. We're 100 people, we've got 6 apprentices, we want 15. You know, we've got 11 part-time terms.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Stay tuned for episodes 2 and episodes 3.